Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting for Bedford Township for November 16th, 2021. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, if Matt Hafer could open us up in prayer with Bridgepoint Church. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Father, thank you for this opportunity for our elected officials and our citizens to get together to discuss matters that are on our hearts, Lord. I pray that your will is done through all the decisions and discussions and everything going on tonight, and I just pray for wisdom for our leaders. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay. Up first, we have the public hearing. 1A is a resolution to establish the Deer Creek Subdivision Road Special Assessment District role. Look for a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Support. Okay, motion and supported by Mr. Bruning. Discussion. Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Gore is absent. Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. At this time, if you'd like to come on up and speak to the Deer Creek subdivision, now would be the time to do so. Okay, seeing none, I look for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing.
Support. Okay, motion is supported by Mr. Bruning. Discussion. Seeing none, could you call a roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Ms. Hirschberger?
So attached is the resolution and the public hearing notice for the road improvement special assessment roll for Deer Creek subdivision. At this public hearing, we'll be approving the roll in the amount of $139,500, which is $4,650 per parcel. Again, the district contains 30 parcels, 22 signed, which is 73%, and 75% of the land area. And if there's no questions, I have a motion. Make a motion to approve the resolution to establish the Deer Creek Subdivision Road Special Assessment District roll in the amount of $4,650 per parcel over a 10-year period as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion and supported by Ms. Janizek. Discussion? Any more? Could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Okay, item 1B, resolution to establish the Stony Brook, Brookwood Forest Subdivisions Road Special Assessment District role. I look for a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Support. Okay, motion is supported by Mr. Bruning. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. At this time, if you'd like to speak to the Stony Brook, Brookwood Forest Subdivisions SAD, now would be the time to do so. Okay, seeing none, I look for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing.
Support. Okay, motion in support of Mr. Bruning. Discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Item, Ms. Hirschberger?
Attached, you'll find the resolution and the public hearing notice for the Road Improvement Special Assessment District for Stony Brook, Brookwood subdivisions. This public hearing is to approve the roll in the amount of $642,600, which is $6,300 per parcel. This district contains 102 parcels and 63 parcels signed on, which is 62% and 66% of the land area. And I'd make a motion to approve the resolution to establish the Stony Brook Brookwood Forest Subdivisions Road Special Assessment District roll in the amount of $6,300 per parcel over a 15-year period as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Ms. Janizek. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Item 2, the approval of agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda is submitted.
Support. Okay, motion and support of Mr. Bruning. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Item 3 is the consent agenda. The agenda committee recommends to approve and place on file A, the minutes of the November 9th, 2021 regular meeting of the Bedford Township Board. B, the general savings, pooled funds, and CD reports from the treasurer. C, the revenue expense report and balance sheet for the period ending October 31st, 2021. D, we accept with regret the resignation of Kathy Comstock from the Housing Commission effective immediately. Look for a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Okay, motion and support by Mr. Bruning. Discussion? I just want to say, with Kathy Comstock, we appreciate all your time that you have given serving on the Housing Commission. We appreciate that. Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Okay, item 4, presentations, Monroe County Sheriff update. Deputy Polly, come on up.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for having me. I have a few things, like we talked about last month. The first thing I want to talk about is the speed report. We had talked about having a speed study done on Lewis Avenue. We did do that. I think you got that in your packet. Unfortunately, we were supposed to do a 7-day speed study, but something happened with the, I guess, the strips on the road. We only got 2 days. I will say that both days are they're very similar in reports. In total, in a 24-hour period on October 26th, there were 13,129 vehicles that drove through that speed zone. Out of those 13,000 plus vehicles, 8,772 were going between 0 and 50. I meant to, actually, I screwed my numbers up. I apologize. 8,700 were either 50 miles or under. I meant to do it from 45 and below because that is the speed limit. But if you do the math there, you'll see that the numbers, the overwhelming majority of the numbers were under the speed limit. We do have some problem areas, and ironically, this report actually gives us an idea as where we can target patrol, so I think we're going to do that with Lewis Avenue. As you can see, cars that were going 55 plus, there was 880 out of the 13,000 vehicles. That's one 24-hour period. It gives us an idea as to where we can dedicate our patrol. I think we're going to use this more often for ourselves. I find it very valuable. The Road Commission is going to work with us and help us out in that regard. For your question as to whether or not you want to put another speed, I guess, camera, I guess, you know, we could do more studies, but that's something that's up to you. I find it very valuable in the Lambertville district, Stearns and Secor, but that's something that I guess if you guys want to make a decision on.
Personally, if the board's okay, I think we should move forward with the Lewis Avenue to get some quotes and get a couple of them for that section. They work. It's slowing down traffic. It's working in the DDA. It's proven just in the few months. So I think it's a no-brainer that we should move forward on getting some quotes. And
I know the city of Monroe has quite a few of them anyway. And like I said, talking with their officers and their leadership, they like them as well. So, but just something to think about maybe for future. But if you want to, do more studies, I can arrange that. Just get a hold of me or somebody. We can make that happen.
You could have Sheriff Goodenough get some quotes, and I'll put it on the next agenda, and we'll let the board look at it.
Sure.
It's pretty obvious, too, though, with the number counts. You probably have, I'm guessing, at least 90% of those numbers are the same exact people every single day, to and from work, to and from the store, et cetera, because those numbers are just unbelievably close 2 days in a row.
Isn't it? It's impressive. we're all creatures of habit. So if
Right.
you look on the 27th, in that same 24-hour period, the first day was 13,129 vehicles went through. The second day was 13,067. And all the numbers, if you look at the speed zones, are all pretty comparable. I don't see a drastic change on anything.
No, they're so close. That's what,
Yeah.
especially when I looked between the 40 all the way up to 60 every 5 mile increment. It's just,
And that's where we find value in that. So we can, like I said, we can, during our roll call, we can deploy our, troops or our deputies to head to those areas and those problem areas.
it's even interesting how the extremely slow ones, the counts are pretty identical too.
Yeah.
I mean, those are unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I find it very valuable. So we're happy about that. I know your time's valuable, but I did want to highlight a particular case that we handled. I intend to do this every month, go back the previous month and kind of pick one case that I think is I guess something interesting that you guys might want to know. So on October 24th, a simple traffic stop. Deputy John Bills, who happens to be a firefighter as well, he made a traffic stop of a minivan on Telegraph at the state line. The driver had no seatbelt, and there was a vehicle equipment violation. That was the reason for the stop. There was 3 total occupants. There was a person in the back who was attempting to hide. That's obviously a big clue to us. And as it turns out, that particular guy was an hour prior was running from the Toledo police. He was suspected of stealing a catalytic converter. So inside the vehicle, we found tools for cutting, catalytic converters. I know that's the hot item that thieves are stealing right now is those converters. They go from anywhere from $100 to $200. So it's a big market right now. And it doesn't take long to steal one either. To get underneath a car, use an electric saw, cut it out, you're in and out in 2 minutes if you know what you're doing. So at any rate, we recovered crack cocaine, pills, a stolen catalytic converter that we believe came from Toledo. We can't actually pinpoint which vehicle it belonged to, but we know it wasn't stolen here, along with burglary tools. So the driver was arrested for no valid ops, possession of burglary tools, and possession of drugs, and the passenger, who was hiding in the back, was arrested for possession of drugs and damaging the inside of a patrol vehicle before we took him to jail. So I just thought that was a nice little case. A simple traffic stop turned into a felony crime for two people, got 2 people off the street. And ironically, what they were doing is they were driving to one of the motels to smoke or do drugs. So that was the reason they were pulling into the motel. So I know that's another topic. So if you guys have any questions on that,
I just want to thank you for coming here and giving the reports. I know we've been looking for this for a long time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
The public needs to know where our tax dollars are going, and I think it's important for us to be up on what, not everything, but the highlights of,
Right.
of those things are good to hear.
Yeah, and I do actually. I missed a couple things. I wanted to tell you we've instituted countywide program where we're working with the schools. We're following school buses, a lot of bus light violators, and what we're finding. Last week was Bedford. I think this week we're doing Monroe Public Schools. Last week was Bedford. Last Tuesday alone, we stopped a total of 4 for running the bus lights, and it resulted in 4 citations. So. Again, this is going to be a recurring thing around every school district. So if you see a patrol car following a bus, that's what's going on.
Do you guys do any Facebook campaigns where you show hey, we stopped for people
We
running
intend to
signs
be a
and
little bit more public, in the future. Those are things that we want to do. We want to be more transparent. We want to be more open. We want to warn people when we're doing stuff. What we want is compliance. Okay, we're not looking to, drill down on people. I mean, if we have to, we will, but we're looking for compliance. And those are things that we feel that we can do, once we kind of get our infrastructure still in place, internally. We're still working, on that.
Yeah.
It's been a big change.
Because I think that's why the speed signs work so well.
Yes.
It's because people need to be constantly reminded.
Absolutely.
And I think those little reminders on Facebook, hey, don't pass a bus.
Right.
It's something that maybe that kid needed to hear or see this morning. Oh, I don't want to get that big fine. You could show what the fines are.
Yeah.
Or
That's a great idea. And to piggyback that, I know Lucas County Sheriff's Office, they still do alcohol stops or the checkpoints, and they advertise that. And and I think what it does is it kind of markets that, listen, we're out there and don't do this. So, yeah, that's something that's in the forefront, so.
Cool. Mr. Dyer?
Just real quick, and I know you guys can't be everywhere at one time, but a lot of discussion last week on Smith Road. So if we could consider looking at Smith Road again, and I know you can't target there constantly, but a lot of complaints on Smith Road, especially between Lewis and Douglas.
Yes, we actually received quite a number of complaints independent of what you guys did, and especially surrounding that crash, I think is immediately following that. We deployed a lot of resources up and down Smith it was like a 2-week order to really hit it. So we really wanted to hit Smith Road. But again, we can continue doing that. If Smith Road is still a problem, I have no problem, making that mandate for our deputies. So yeah, Smith Road.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bruning?
Another thing, Paulie, while we're talking about the hotels on the Telegraph corridor there, and I'd like your input on this, Phil, what all has to be done for us to get those to declare, like Toledo did with Days Inn, declare them a nuisance hotel and shut them down? I mean, I know you guys are hammering them, and that really helps, but what would all be
I guess
involved in
I
that,
would
Phil?
probably defer to Phil because I'm not really sure what we can do other than in terms of initiating it. We certainly have all the reports or the documentation. I mean, I think that's where we would come in, but I'm not sure how we would initiate it, or is that something that we can initiate, or is that a prosecutor thing, or?
It's really a joint effort. Your department, and the prosecutor's office can bring pressure for criminal violations. We can't do that, but we can bring pressure for zoning ordinance violations or blight violations. So if we have continual zoning ordinance violations, blight violations, if that's an issue with any of these motels along there, or dangerous building issues.
Well, that's why we tore down, what was that called, the one we tore down?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
Star
on the
Motel?
name.
Was it Star Motel? One of the ones we
I don't want
It
to
was-
say the wrong name and punish somebody else, but yes, we did. We took that motel down because of dangerous building blight violations, and we attempted to work with them. We did work with them. We practically begged them to, like Jeff was saying, all we want is compliance. Well, that's what we tried to achieve, but they turned a blind eye toward us, so we did what our ordinances and the state law allow us to do, and the buildings got razed. They were torn down. So it can be a collaborative effort. I did receive a call, and I think there might have been some command personnel with Mike Rohrig and asking, okay, Phil, from the township's perspective, what can you do? And it was basically the same response. You hit them on the criminal violations, we can hit them on the zoning violations, and you bring them together and work in a collaborative effort, you can do some good.
Well, I do know the sheriff does have a plan for them. I know the first effort was to hammer them, as far as the violations, and you guys are. I mean, there's been multiple things that have happened. So I know that was the start of end goal, and whatever the end goal be, maybe they clean up their act and things turn around, or
That's what
they
would be
don't
the
and they
best,
get tore
but,
down.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just not sure, and again, I'm just not sure if we initiate the effort, if we have the authority to do so. I know we, in that arena, I certainly know that we have the reports, and we can get that information. We can compile it all, and we'll be more than happy to work with anybody
Why don't you
for that.
talk to sheriff about it, and we can maybe have a
Yeah.
meeting, Todd, and you could come, or
Great.
we could get together and talk
All right.
about it.
Perfect.
All
Thanks, Paulie.
So,
Appreciate it.
Any other
Anybody
questions?
else? No? Okay. Thank you
all
very
right.
much, Paul.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Guys,
it.
have a good night.
Me too.
Okay. Moving on to public comment. Comments limited to 5 minutes for board agenda items. Come on up.
Gail Kane, 1056 West Temperance. I'd like to address an issue regarding 8D. I happen to have the pleasure of meeting Mr. King last week after the meeting, and I wanted to say that I'm not opposed to his being hired. However, I do feel that there are a couple questions that should be addressed for the public. We need to have a full disclosure on a relationship. Not that it should matter, but it has been brought up in the past for other issues, other appointments. Irregardless of his cherry pie eating contest of winner's crown, I also think that his peer review should be looked at. And I'm sure that someone has probably reached out to Pat to ask him how well he's doing, since he's already employed here at the township. He was supposed to do the COVID testing at the front door, but that passed us by, and he went and found another job, and then now he's back, and he's been working with the maintenance department, and from what I've heard, they are pleased with his performance. The other question that I have is that it said in his application that his supervisor, I question that, because according to the handbook and the policies of the township, the umbrella does not include the deputy supervisor. So I would like to have some clarification on that, just who is supposed to be overseeing this department, so to speak, other than the fact that Pat has the experience and definitely would be able to do a peer evaluation as working with this Mr. King. But, and again, like I said, I don't have a problem. He seems to be very personable. I feel I could trust him in a conversation. But I do believe that the public needs to hear from the appropriate person the disclosure on a relationship that exists there and has for a while. So that's basically the only thing that I have. And in regards to the maintenance department itself, I don't believe we ever got an answer to the issue regarding the mailbox that was allegedly disrupted with the snow removal, and why the township had to pay for it when it was not the case. And the maintenance people did the replacement. So this needs to be covered in that umbrella thing. And that's it for right now. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night. Any more comments?
Good evening, Logan Tisdale, 1308 Brandywine Street. It's nice to see Under Sheriff Pauly come down here and give a summary of what's going on. I've been to a lot of meetings prior to the Sheriff Goodnow becoming the sheriff, and didn't see many times where a sheriff came down or any representative from the Sheriff's Department came down here and kind of stood open for questions and stuff. I think that's a good idea. I think targeting Lewis Avenue, if you get 13,000 cars driving Lewis Avenue, I drive that thing every day and continually see people speeding, and like you said, it's probably the same people that come up here for work and for whatever, and so I think that's a great idea to do that. So I'm kind of encouraged to see some activity here. I'm encouraged to see the undersheriff come here, so I want to make a positive statement about the Sheriff's Department, so thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any more comments? Okay, seeing none, moving on to 6A, approve updates to the Bedford Township Board Administrative Policy Manual. Mr. Bob, come on up.
Thank you. Is it okay if I start with a quick statement about ARPA?
The floor is yours.
All right. I just wanted to give a little update. We've had 3 official meetings now so far with ARPA. We have submitted 1 application to the county for some funds for the culverts that were discussed in the past. We are still looking at the possibility of using a consultant and or an auditing firm to make sure that we're doing everything correctly. A couple of the items that we're looking at, obviously this is just the very beginning. Nothing has been confirmed or anything like that. We're looking at a bigger night drop box in the Treasury Department, ventilation into the IT room, touchless drinking fountains, and connectivity. And another small quick update, we are going to do a newsletter, or a little letter in the winter newsletter, update on ARPA so far that we have. So I just want to give a small, real quick update on that. Purchasing policy updates. I'd like to propose a couple changes to the policy. In your handout, I provided a new proposed policy. What we have right now is just 4.32 policy number. The immediate changes to that I'd like to do is scrap that one line that's highlighted with a strike through and strike through the expenditure control reference. The expenditure control reference is 4.33. That'll be on page 22. That is referring to using purchase requisitions and purchase orders. We currently do not use those, so I would like to strike that from the policy. Additions is 4.32 through 4.32.1 through 4.32.6. Instead of reading all of these, I think I'll just start with if there's any questions.
4.34 threshold requiring written quotations. I think we should raise that to 2,500. It's just very difficult because 1,500 is an extreme. It's a low amount anymore with some of the things that we're doing. So I personally think that we should raise that to get 3 quotes after that amount. And the reason I say that, there's a lot of maintenance things, such as some of these parking lots, concretes around the sewers are failing, and you know, I just feel like we can get a lot of that stuff done easier.
So that's going in the opposite direction that Bob's going. So, what was your thought process for lowering?
It really
Well, it's
wasn't
1,500 right
lowering.
now.
It's 2.
No, it's 15.
Well, the policy said 15, and the 15 was if you spend $1,500 or more, you got to get 3 quotes. If it's $2,000 or more, you had to bring it to the board. And my suggested change was just
now
make
it's
them both the
1,500.
same dollar amount at 1,500.
He's just bringing them both the same. I'm saying to the 1,500, we should raise it a little bit, in my opinion.
My suggestion is keep them both the same, but I think we should let the board decide, or or whatever.
Yeah, I'm fine with keeping them same, but raise them a little bit. That's my opinion, but I do most of the purchasing.
Is your thought to have them match,
Yes, that's all.
just that they're the same? I'm sorry. I was thinking that you're
Yeah,
saying.
he just wants to match them.
You're
He's
saying,
not necessarily concerned about lowering it because, I mean, in my opinion, if it's going to be 15 and it's because we don't trust the people that are doing it, we need to get 3 quotes, then make it 0 and bring every purchase to the board. Because whether it's 500 or 1,500 or 2,500, whoever's doing it, you have to trust them to some extent. So. Mr. Steiner.
I mean, I'm okay with keep matching the numbers as you proposed. Couple things here, just sort of housekeeping. If you're going to take out 4.33, you'll have to do a renumbering because you would be going 4.32 to 4.32.6 to 4.34. So if you take it out, you have to renumber everything. Then jumping back to the second page of your documents, 4.32.3, the last sentence, emergency exception will be allowed with the approval of the 3 full-time elected officials. If you could specify, does that mean all 3 must approve?
Yes.
Not just 2 of the 3, not 1 of the, so 3 of 3.
What we're trying to eliminate here is paying additional sales tax. Obviously, there's going to be emergency situations where we have to do an emergency run to somewhere, and we will pay sales tax.
Right.
But we want confirmation from all 3 elected officials that is approving that transaction.
Well, if there's an emergency situation and it's a Saturday and I can't get a hold of,
Yep.
I don't have everybody's cell number. So, I mean, if we have that situation, we have to at least have that in place. Because I'm the one that gets the calls, you know, for the water line breaks at the police garage last year at 4 a.m. and I got to take action, so.
So I guess that's an answer for the board. How do we want to handle that? Because if it says 3, and I thought that's what his interpretation was, so how do we get around it when we do have that situation?
Either way, it needs to be worded one way or the other. It needs to either say one of the 3 or all of the 3.
It also says full-time.
So it would be Trudy, myself, and Paul.
Right,
All 3?
right.
So then
That's what
you're
I'm
just
taking
saying,
it.
then your emergency situation, if you can't get a hold of the 2 of them, you only have one of
That's
them.
what I'm saying. I had a situation where a pipe burst. I had to come here at 4 a.m. last year, and, you know, there's water spraying all over equipment. I had to take action quickly. You know.
This is different, though. This is just credit card purchases.
I mean, it's an emergency. So an actual emergency. So what's considered an emergency then? Only credit card purchases?
Well, that's all this is referring to is credit card purchases.
Okay.
So that's almost like an
But you're
emergency.
speaking
Doesn't,
about
won't
is-
even be there on a credit card. I mean, that's going to happen during the daytime.
I mean, most emergencies that we have aren't going to be paid by a
Right.
credit card.
No.
They're going to, yeah,
I think you're talking about.
Yeah, I was talking about other purchases.
yeah.
The additional item I'm proposing is I created 2 additional forms. These are going to be PDF forms that are fillable online. One will be the refund request. So I added some more detail to that. When I get refund requests, it seems to be missing a lot of information, like who do I send the check to, their phone number, how do I contact them, support why we're giving refunds. So I put that detail on this form. The other is the payroll per diem form, and I believe that is section 5.9.1, which is going to be on page 25. What I'm going for here is when I get these payroll per diem forms, I can never figure out who signs them because they're from different committees. They could be from wherever. So I'm adding a section in here for them to print. I am also adding a section that they must be approved by the committee treasurer, the committee chair, or the township department head overseeing that committee, if there is a position. So that's what I plan to do with that form.
Clean it up.
Clean it up.
Yeah, and that
All this makes Bob's job easier. I mean, there's no reason Bob should be spending hours in the office trying to figure out numbers and who signed what and who did what. This cleans it up, more efficient.
I'd have to look at the old form, but I always was under the understanding that it was the chair or the head that always had to sign and approve them anyway.
It was, but they weren't doing it.
Okay, so it was, but they just weren't being done. So now it's in a procedure. We hand it out to those in charge and make sure that they do it.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a copy of the old form. I think I provided in the packet, but it's just this simple check request form. They were using that.
And that's the main use of those per diems is the committees and that kind of
Committees,
thing? Okay.
yes.
That's what I thought. My, going back to 4.321 through 4, the gist of all of them, I have no problem with. But I think that there does need to be clarity and verbiage with some of this. Even, like I said, I kind of understood it, but it was like when having a policy, I would just want it to be worded clearly. Like even so 4.324 has a, like it's almost the same thing that says in 4.321 to me, but you know what I mean? Like, and then it's like no exceptions, but then there are check requests, and the same thing, I felt like this board needed to clarify one way or the other. Is it all, or is it one of, 3-time, and then what constitutes as an exception? And the emergency exception, what is that? Who is saying whether something is an emergency or not, or does that not need to be clarified? Did you have any thoughts on this, Mr. Goldsmith, on the, like, specifically those couple of points?
4.321 was one of them, and 4.324. Okay, so what is your, Craig, what's your question on 4.321? I was just reading it as you were speaking.
So it's the policy of the township to only pay expenses either through invoices or purchases made on the township credit cards.
Okay.
It's a responsibility of the purchaser to use approved suppliers. Furnish the supplier with a copy of the township's Michigan sales and use tax certificate of exemption form. And then I feel like there's exceptions to that in 2 and 3, and then says all other purchases. Like, I don't know, it just seemed like.
Well, 4.321, first of all, you want to use approved vendors because they have all of our sales tax information on file.
Mm-hmm.
And then it puts the burden on whoever is purchasing on behalf of the township to supply or to provide the vendor or the supplier with our sales and use tax certificate. So that, that's important. And then it provides a penalty. If whoever's purchasing doesn't do that, then they're going to be charged with the sales tax. They'll have to pay the township.
Well, with that, do we need to have, and I'm not saying we don't, do you need to have the 4.324 in there as well? Like, it kind of seemed like it was redundant.
Well, I asked them, how are you going to enforce somebody to pay? You're going to pull it out of their paycheck?
And that's what I wondered.
Well,
now they're like,
enforcement may be an issue. I think that probably was inserted in there to make it, make it clear
Mm-hmm.
to people who have the authority to purchase that there's a procedure, and if you don't follow it, you're subjecting yourself to, if you really wanted to expand on it, you could put in there failure to comply will result in the sales tax being deducted from your payroll check.
I would say that.
And then you have an automatic, and of course, if you have a collective bargaining agreement, if you have somebody who's purchasing who's a member of the collective bargaining agreement, you can't do that without having an LOI with your union, so you got to be careful there. But if you wanted to add that language, then you have an automatic penalty. So you might want to consider that. 4.324, I like that in there, Craig, because, you might want to say all purchases must be made on account with approved suppliers. See finance manager for list. And then something to the extent or that all purchases unless, and provide some exceptions. So you start with the proposition that you always purchase from an approved vendor or supplier, because then you don't have to supply the vendor or the supplier with the sales tax exemption information. And then you go down and say, and in those cases where it's not possible to do that, then you have to provide the sales tax exemption information and use tax information. So it could be reworked in that fashion to flow better.
You could almost put point 1 and point 2 together.
Yeah,
because
you
they are
could.
so close.
Yeah, you could, and then do it, start with the proposition or the standard that all purchases will be made from approved vendors, and the reason why, except that in those circumstances where it's not possible, or put wherever possible, purchases are to be made from approved vendors who have our sales tax and use tax exemption on file. When not possible, then you have to provide, then who's ever purchasing has to provide that information. If you fail to provide that information and we're charged sales tax or use tax, then any sales or use tax will be automatically payroll deducted from the offender's paycheck. But again, you know, if we're gonna enforce that against union contract employees, that's a subject of negotiation with the collective bargaining unit. You can't unilaterally
Or you
impose
just
that
allow
on-
certain people to make the purchases. You know,
And that's not where it's happening. Where it's happening is people are going out, they're purchasing stuff from the store, they're bringing their receipts in and going, here, reimburse me.
You said what I was going to say.
They're not asking us to purchase what they need. They're not going through our vendors. They're just going out and buying stuff and then throwing the receipts down and going, reimburse me.
on their own credit cards or paying cash for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that should be
And that's what we're
eliminated
trying to
because Bob
eliminate
can't
here.
track it. You're right.
Exactly.
So is there a better way to, will this eliminate that?
It would, because if they're going and purchasing it by cash or their own credit card, they're not going to get the exemption.
well, why don't we have to where the department head has to approve anybody using their own credit cards? I don't think anybody should be using their personal credit cards or paying cash for anything.
Exactly.
I
No,
think the township officials or a department head should be approving that. If
That-
anybody in my department's doing it, I don't know that they are. I would say,
That
hey,
practice-
I'll make the purchases.
Yeah, that practice should be
And that cuts it
eliminated.
out.
No one should be going out using their own credit card or cash or a check to
And
purchase.
throwing receipts at-
Because Bob
Yeah.
can't track it then. It's
No.
not on our credit cards.
know-
Or it's very difficult to track.
Well, you know, this also cleans up 4.323 when it comes to the 3 approvals for an emergency credit card. What if it is somebody that is not a current approved vendor, but that's the only person we can get it from right this second? Okay, yes, then that sort of cleans that up, says, yes, we can get approval from the 3 full-timers to use credit card and go to buy somebody and pay the sales tax.
Who has township credit cards?
The park, and, well, I have in my desk for the township. I think Paul's got one,
I have one.
Trudy has one.
So if said person from whichever department is deciding they need to go to Home Depot and pick something up or whatever, and they would be able to, instead of going and doing that, they would be able to stop by your office, get the credit card. Where are you going? Is that an approved vendor? And that's basically, so this does kind of eliminate that then. And it's just, you're not getting
Well, what I'm
you're not
asking-
getting reimbursed with your own credit card.
What I'm asking in that scenario is, if you're going to go to, an example, a vendor that's not on our list that will charge us sales tax, take the sales tax form with you and use it. If you don't use it, get the approval from 3 full-time elected officials. We're preventing paying sales tax. That's the goal here.
All right.
Are you finding that we're paying a lot of sales tax?
It has ticked up recently.
Yeah, so, yeah,
Yes.
purchases whenever possible should be approved through the department head or the supervisor. So, you know, it can then all be tracked a lot easier for accounting and auditing purposes. So maybe we need to do a little massaging of this
Well,
language.
at the end of the day, I told them when we talked today, it's about, after this is implemented, is making sure people follow it and train them and make sure that they do it.
Right.
Because it's junk here if it's not being enforced and nobody, lets it go. So,
You know, and we have policy manuals and everything else. We get this put into place. I think it should go back out and make them sign it as well. I understand the policy.
That's always a good practice.
You know, I mean, years ago, Trudy and Krista, you remember, Paul, I don't think this is, I think this is pre your time too, that even the trustees all had credit cards years ago. And at one point we said, don't issue them to us because we're not using them anyway. And
no, that was me too, because I had one as a trustee.
oh, did you? Okay, I couldn't remember how far back it eliminated that. But yeah, it didn't make sense.
But you could make this flow a little, the framework is there, but you could make it flow a little better. And, you know, just a short meeting with Bob and maybe one or two of the trustees, or the three full-time elected officials and Bob, and sit down and make it flow like we've discussed here.
We would like to do that tonight because we want to implement this ASAP.
Let me ask you, is it really just between 4321 and 4324? Is that the only area we have an issue with, just to massage the language? And if it is, I'd be willing to say, let's let the 3 full-timers massage that language, agree to it, and sign it. But that's, again, if you guys want to do that.
Make the motion.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to accept the purchasing policy updates as proposed from Mr. Miller, as presented with the exception of 4.321, 4.322, 4.323, 4.324, which the 3 full-time elected officials will help him tweak the language and make the final approval.
Support.
Okay, motion and support of Mr. Bruning. Discussion? Any more? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Janasek?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 6-0.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, item 8A, vouchers for payment. Ms. Hirschberger?
I'd like to make a motion that the following vouchers be approved for payment. General Fund, $30,175.86. Fire District Fund, $5,131.95. Police Fund, $122.87. Park Operating Fund, $351.82. Fire Equipment, $553.92. Library Operating Fund, $716.15. DDA Capital Fund, $7,443.89. Sewer O&M Fund, $450,764.09. Trust and Agency Fund, $5,099.13, for a grand total of $500,359.68.
Support.
Okay, motion and support of Ms. Janasek. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Janasek?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 6-0. 8B, resolution to approve the 2022 budget for operation and maintenance of the Bedford Township sewer system. Mr. Sergo, how you doing?
Good. Tim Sergo, representing David Thompson, Monroe County Drain Commissioner. I'm the Deputy Commissioner. I'm here once again, once a year, to get our budget approved to operate the Bedford Wastewater Treatment Plant on your behalf. The budget is comprised of analyzing existing and past years with current numbers. It's about a 1.8% increase over last year. The biggest item is chemicals. Every time we go to order chemicals, the price goes up 20, 30, 40%. Electricity has went up. We've done a great job in reducing our demand, but the price is offset. The increase in price is offset any savings we would have saw. I guess it would have been worse had we not did all the improvements. And then a small labor increase for 2022 for the employees. So that's the main meat of the budget. As you know, it's just a budget, and the actual numbers will be reflected next year when we get the final totals.
Okay, any questions, comments, Mr. Steiner?
Just one quick question. So it's about a $52,000 total variance from 21 to 22. I know you explained some of the ones I had marked off where the large increases. And this one's going the other way. Just curious, under contract services, that seems like that one dropped quite a bit for 22.
Yeah, we're saying that because of all those upgrades, we don't need outside contract services.
Okay, so we're
saving
dropping
money.
about 130. So I just want to make sure that that's a.
Yeah, we closely analyze that number. We feel it's a good number.
I mean, don't want to underdo it either.
No.
Don't want to spend it if we don't have to, but
Right.
don't want to under budget it
Yeah.
either. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Stanzik?
I know that I called you earlier today, Tim, but could you explain, in case the rest of the board have any questions on what the labor infringes, why there wasn't anything in 2020 and there is now?
Yeah, basically, she's talking about the vehicle and the sewer, and that's the outside crew, and we've kind of tried to break some things out of the budget so we can track it better, and that's why there was nothing in there for 2020, but in 21 we started with the labor. You have a service truck, you have a jet truck, those vehicles are out, weather permitting, cleaning, and making sure that the effluent is moving. And so that time is budgeted. When they fill out their time cards, they have to fill out what duties they did and what categories they fit under, so we can monitor all that for the future. And so that's basically outside services, the sewer and the vehicle part, and of course taps. There's when people build a new house or a business and they need to tap into the sanitary sewer, we have to inspect it before they close up the hole.
Any more comments, questions, Mr. Montre?
So I know you said chemicals going up 20-30%. That's clearly more than 20-30%.
Every time
increase.
we order, they go up that much.
Okay.
So it's like one of those things that if you need a 55-gallon bottle, a container of polymer every 6 weeks, so as we order it, every time we go to order, the price just keeps increasing. So it's a supply and demand thing. That's something we have no control over.
Same thing happened with lumber.
Yeah.
That was weekly. It was going up 10-15% a week.
Yeah. So we feel it's going to stabilize off somewhere, but we don't know where.
Yeah.
So we took a best stab, but based on what the salesmen were telling us, so we put a number of $175,000 in for polymer.
Okay. I look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the resolution for the 2022 budget for operation and maintenance of the Bedford Township sewer system as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported. More questions? None. Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Ms. Janjacek?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 6-0. Thanks, Tim, for being here. Appreciate it. Item 8C, approve SEMCOG annual membership, Southeastern Michigan Council of Governments. I asked Deputy Supervisor Pryor to come up and kind of go over the involvement that we have with SEMCOG. And some of the benefits that we do receive over the years that we, in our involvement. And so, go ahead, Mr. Pryor.
Good evening, everyone. SEMCOG, as you know, it's a regional organization of numerous governments that represent cities, villages, townships. They have distinct areas within the organization in terms of economic development, water, parks, transportation, their legislative arm, and their workforce initiatives. It was once asked, what has SEMCOG done for us? Well, the first thing they did for us, they came down here and they did an analysis of Lewis Avenue and downtown Temperance, which after that analysis, they helped us to obtain a $250,000 grant for Temperance. So that was one of their initiatives that they helped us on. They have numerous planners with different disciplines, from transportation to their economic planners. And what's nice is that we can call them at any time and they're responsive. It's like, what do you need? For example, I have a meeting coming up where I called one to come down here because I wanted to talk about several issues. And they're like, okay, pick a date. And they make it happen. The other thing that's what's nice is that we get groups together. I was asked to sit on a bicycle task force in terms for SEMCOG, along with Florence Buchanan and several others in Monroe. Well, after we were done on our task force, and it dealt with pedestrian walkways, it dealt with bicycling, just the whole issues of transportation, because transportation is more than just bikes and so on. Believe it or not, if you go downtown Detroit, you can rent scooters. And they'll be laying all over the place. Then they pick them up. But that's transportation in terms of that. So we developed a whole regional plan. Well, from that, the people, we were sitting there from Monroe County, and we were saying, what can we do? Because nobody's ever gotten together in Monroe County as a group and said, what can happen in Monroe County for pedestrians and bicycling? Because Monroe County missed a lot of great opportunities over the last 10 years in terms of getting money for bicycle path, pedestrian walkways, and so on, because when they were doing the I-275, nobody showed up from Monroe County. Well, guess what? We show up now, so we can get our dollars. So we formed a committee. We got together. We had several meetings. We approached Mike Bosonic and said, what can we do? And he says, you know what? We'll start a committee through Monroe County. And through that committee, what blossomed is we had a lot of work, is that we were able to get a $40,000 planning grant through SEMCOG. We're getting a 100-mile bike loop that's connecting Monroe County. And the beauty of that is that in September, we had people already doing the 100-mile loop. Even though we don't have it marked, we give them the directions where to go. We had over 200 and some bicyclists coming through Bedford. And what happens when bicyclists come through your community, they spend money. They'll spend money at restaurants. They'll spend money at places like Gathered Creations, because they'll stop, they'll look at it, they'll say, I'll buy it, I'll drive my car back and pick it up. Well, the other thing is for the state of Michigan, bicycling accounts for $600 million to the Michigan economy. So that all happened because of SEMCOG. The other thing that I feel SEMCOG is very important to have is that they're a voice for us and many others in our region. And we've had governors at our meetings, we've had senators at our meetings, we've had state representatives, and when there's a bill or there's an issue, SEMCOG is on it. For example, right now, the state's trying to take away some of the rights of local municipalities in terms of your short-term rentals. That affects Airbnb, that affects people that own cottages that might want to rent it out for a week or whatever. So they're fighting that. So that's another benefit that we have. Their website, when you have economic developers, they don't drive into Bedford anymore. They don't fly in. They don't drive around and look. What they do is they get on Google Earth, they take a look at sites, then they go to sites like SEMCOG, and SEMCOG will pull up all our demographics. Right now, the latest census is on there. It shows, hey, everybody thinks we have huge growth in Bedford. Well, we gained a few people, but we didn't gain like thousands like everybody might think, but that data is there for developers. They have, I can go to their website, and you all should, and you want to see a traffic count on Lewis Avenue, go pull up Lewis Avenue. It's there in SEMCOG. You think you want to put a charging station for EVs? Guess what? You can pull up and you can see the 314 charging stations in the region where they're located. So if you're a business or whatever, you might say, hey, this might be good for my business to put one of these in there, like Myers did up on Alexis Avenue. In terms of their educational programs, outstanding. All through COVID, they came up with different programs. They Zoom them. They're all libraried. You can pull them up anytime on numerous topics. Okay, so that's been a real benefit. Paul and I, we've been to general membership meetings and so on. They bring in great speakers. They talk about topics ranging from parks, like I said, transportation, and especially parks are becoming very important because with COVID, we found out that's where a lot of people try and stay healthy. They go to work out in parks now. They ride bikes. They want to be outside. Well, SEMCOG developed a park app. If somebody comes into our area, they can go to the app and it'll pull up Anstead Park. It'll pull up Carr. It'll pull up White. So it's all there. Their website, like I said, it's just phenomenal. In the meetings or general membership meetings, I encourage you all to go because every time I go, I meet somebody new. I gain new knowledge. And also, too, you'll see people from Monroe County. Like the last one, Mike Bosonic and I, we were at several of them together. And we were like, hey, maybe we could do this or maybe we could do that in different ideas. So in terms, one last thing, they also, what do they do for Bedford? They do programs in terms like walk, bike, drive safely. And they hand out cool little things like this for riders, bike lights, and they do these for free. So we have these, we give them out while supply lasts, no charge. They don't charge us for this. Same way when a planner comes down here, we don't get a bill for that. So I think SEMCOG is a wonderful organization. I think we should all be proud that we're a member, and they are a great voice for Bedford Township.
Thank you. Anybody have any comments or questions? Okay. Any more discussion on the SEMCOG membership? Okay, seeing none, I look for a motion.
Nobody's going to make it. I'll make the motion to approve the SEMCOG membership dues at $4,239 as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion and support of Mr. Bruning. Discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Steiner.
Aye.
Mr. Bruning.
Aye.
Mr. Montroy.
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek.
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni.
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Moving on to 8D, approve the transition of a part-time employee to a full-time in maintenance department. A little bit of history for some of the newer guys on the board. When I first got here, we had 4 full-time people. When I first started, it was interesting to me that one of the maintenance guys would open up the building and start the coffee and kind of putz around a little bit here and there. And I'm like, well, what is going on here? So we stopped all that and had make sure we had all 4 people, doing maintenance work and not things that township employees could do, in my opinion. And from there on out, I kind of had my eye on things of, hey, what's going on? And when one employee quit, we were down to 3. We didn't replace the full time. Didn't think it was necessary. And then when the retirement happened of an individual, we went down to 2. And I thought we could do it with 2. And seasonal employees, it does work, but not great. I've been frugal. I've really tried to do my best to keep the monies to a bare minimum in all my departments, but especially the maintenance. And I've realized that we really do need another full-time, and here's why. For continuity, we have to have solid people that are going to be here for the long haul, because we have funerals and things that just anybody can't come and do, just to hire a seasonal part-time person. We have to have that consistency in that department. So when somebody's on vacation and somebody's sick, we have to have somebody that can do these funerals and do some of the day-to-day stuff that Jeff and Dan are learning. They're getting very good. They have a great crew. They work well together. They all get along great. Pat has, we've talked with Pat multiple times, and Pat really enjoys the crew and has encouraged us to move forward with Jeff. He agrees with moving to a full-time, so I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Ms. Hirschberger or Krista.
Jeff does work really well. I did speak with both Adam and Pat, and they said that Jeff is a hard worker. He does what he's asked of. He goes beyond what he's asked. We have a larger workload than we have in the past. We always did have 4 workers. Well, now we really do need 4. If it were up to me, I would bring both of them on full-time, because I really do think we need 4 full-time people for, if not anything, we have someone out sick right now. We are down to 3. I have 3 funerals today. They couldn't do, or this week, they couldn't do anything else. They've been moving stones, digging graves, and that's 3 of them. We're bringing them on extra anyway. So I would like to see Jeff be brought on full-time.
Which is why our Christmas lights will be delayed a
Yes.
little bit. They were supposed to
Yes.
be put up this week. Ms. Janizek?
I'm going to mirror what Trudy said as well, but add to it. I did speak with Pat and Adam, and they are happy and they enjoy having Jeff as an employee or worker. And also, my thoughts are, we have somebody who is here. We've invested the time, we've invested money, and he's invested time into this position. My opinion is to go forward with the full-time, because I know we've spent money and time, and he's a great employee, and that's just my opinion.
A couple things about Jeff. He has an associate's degree. He did work in this department back in 2002 for a season. He's had longevity with Kroger's as an assistant customer service manager. He also worked in maintenance for Bridgepoint Church. He does a lot of small repairs. He's very mechanically inclined. So in the maintenance department, that becomes very handy because we have a lot of little jobs that don't require certifications or degrees. They just, somebody that's mechanically inclined. Pat Thatcher has worked with him since last August and is pleased with his performance. It should be noted that many good employees have been hired throughout the years because they know somebody. And what Ms. Keene is speaking of with the past is Mr. King's wife. I hired her to do my website. I hired her to do multiple different things for me over the last couple of years. So that's what she's inquiring. But I hire a lot of different people in this community to do things because we use local people. That doesn't mean their family over the years, if there's a position at this community or a township, they can't get it because they did that. Hired her to do a job and paid her, and that's it. I don't know what you're insinuating is that Jeff's working here because of what I did for her. That's not the case. I would see that be the case if last year I hired Jeff as a full-time employee with benefits. That would be one thing. But no, we gave a man with 5 kids a $14 an hour job, part-time, and tried him out for a year, and he's doing an amazing job. And I'm proud to have him work for us and come on full-time now. So,
I have a question, Paul.
Go ahead.
Did anyone else apply for the job?
Yes, we had a few different people apply. I went through them last year when we were looking at it, and a lot of them fell off. Some of them at the time wanted full-time at the time. Mr. Steiner, I believe, had a friend apply last year, and I don't think ever turned in an application to the clerk's department, so it wasn't on file. Not sure how or what happened there, but at the end of the day, I did look at a few different options of hiring somebody with HVAC and electrical degrees and certifications, but you're going to have to pay them 6 figures to do it. And they have to keep up on those certifications. At the end of the day, we have a solid group of people that can get the job done. Quite frankly, that we're not paying 6 figures. They make a good wage, and I think Jeff's be starting out at 15-something an hour. It's not, we're not, So most of our work is your cutting grass, plowing snow, digging a grave, stuff that you learn on the job, pulling weeds, spraying, stuff that, But yeah, we did get applications, and at the end of the day, it was Mr. King that we brought on, Mr. Steiner.
When did we post for this full-time position?
We didn't post for the full-time position. We
Okay, so
posted last year for the part-time position, and we're
Okay.
just moving Jeff into the full-time position that we've already had on file.
So that goes back to another point. I did some investigation myself. I found out from different people here in the township that thought Mr. King was doing a good job for the last year, give or take exact months. I'm not sure, but close to a year, give or take. They said that he's doing a good job. Mr. Thatcher seems to be happy with him. My biggest concern is we didn't post for a full-time position. I checked the records, and some applications don't seem to be in the clerk's department. I don't know why they're not there. They did come to your office. I know the one you're talking about. And that person asked me about it. When they saw this full-time position, they were looking for full-time, granted, and you decided not to go with a full-time back then. I see this application's dated from March of 2021. I'm not sure what time the other application was turned in. I believe it was sometime earlier this year. But I guess it should have been posted for a full-time position.
Okay. Any more comments? Okay. All right. I'll make a motion that we bring on Mr. Jeff King, full-time, effective immediately, into the maintenance department.
Friendly amendment, his pay? Or is it with the union contract, we don't have to do that?
I believe it's going to remain the same.
Okay.
Right, and then he'll follow the union contract.
Then he'll follow the union
I
contract.
just want to make sure.
I'll second.
Okay, motion supported, Ms. Hertzberger. Any more discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Peroni?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
I'm going to, no disrespect to Mr. King, but I'm going to respectfully say no because a proper protocol process was not followed.
Mr. Bruning?
And I'm going to vote no also for the same reason. I don't think it was posted properly.
Okay, and the motion is passed 4-2. Okay. Congratulations, Mr. King. We look forward to continuing working with you, buddy. Okay, moving on to 8E, approve the cancellation of the December 21st, 2021 Township Board meeting. Myself, Ms. Hershberger, Ms. Januzak talked about this and feel that with it being this close to Christmas and the agenda items that we will have, we don't necessarily,
Right now, I have none.
we have none. So, I mean, we can either have a back-to-back meeting in early December or not have the second one, and it's up to the board. But I feel that, you know, that close to Christmas time, you know, it's just one of them things that, you know, that I thought wouldn't be a bad
And-
idea to cancel.
And it wouldn't be different. Other boards do the same thing. They either cancel them or they move them or, so we thought we'd bring it to the board to see what everyone.
I would just say
thought.
next year that with the schedule that we have, we just be careful with if we don't want to get them close to that, we just do it in the beginning, so we're not doing this.
Right.
Well, just to be sure, should we just put this on the first meeting in December to say yes or no? I mean, what if something does come up that we do need to take action? That gives you 2 weeks still to get it properly posted for the next meeting.
That's up to this board what they want to do. I brought
Do
it
you
out
foresee
and
anything coming?
no, everything's on this next agenda. Everything from planning and BZA and everything else they've put on this next agenda. And they've moved their meetings too, so.
So as I'm saying, if we're doing it just
But
to
it's
do
up
it,
to it.
you know, but if everything's on there and nothing's forthcoming, I mean, you have an idea when things are coming unless a trustee sends an
The
email.
first meeting in December is full already. I mean, there's a lot on
we
that
can,
agenda.
keep in mind, we can always call a special meeting if we have to have something and it's
I was going to
urgent.
say that
Yes.
I could go with this as long as we have that opening, that if we need
Yeah.
to, something comes up, then we need to recall that meeting.
Or even a different week if we need to.
Right.
Okay, I look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we cancel the December 21st, 2021 board meeting due to the possible lack of a quorum and due to the holiday, but if needed be, we can call a special meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion supported, Mr. Steiner. Any more discussion? Mr. Montre? No?
No, I would
Oh,
say
okay.
I'm opposed to canceling the meeting. I believe it's part of our responsibility, and it's on my schedule. It's been on my schedule for a long time, and I don't see it as appropriate. So I will vote no, but just to voice my reasoning.
Okay. Could you call the roll, please?
Can I make one friendly
Yeah.
amendment that I was reminded? If we cancel this meeting, we do need to add to this that we will approve bills to be paid, and then they'll go to the January meeting for the final approval, just like we did when we were shut down.
Okay.
Okay.
Friendly amendment? Good with that friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Could you call the roll?
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montre?
Nay.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 5-1. Item 8.
We're done.
Oh, number 9, comments from the public. Comments limited to 2 minutes for each individual. Come on up.
Gail Kane, 1056 West Temperance. Okay, firstly, to put the whole thing simply, she was your campaign manager.
No, she
That's
wasn't.
all you had to say.
Nope.
Number 2, to Trudy, how will we get the tweaked policy to be made public? Once you guys are done with it, will we be able to see it? And then, oddly enough, you guys mentioned connectivity. I'm questioning, where are the park board meetings? They're not, you can't find them. They don't want to release their phone numbers. I do realize that they're duly elected in their own little separate entity, but we pay them. So I think the public deserves to be able to monitor their meetings, see who just happens to pop into the meeting and what they're trying to make happen. And I think we should be able to get a hold of these people. So that's my only comment. So, and good job, Jeff, another union person.
Well, he hasn't joined yet, so he's easy. Let's let him join. Okay, any more comments from the public? Come on up, Mr. Krieger, if you got a comment. We can't bring the mic to you. It's not long enough cord.
Hey, question. I have two questions.
Name
One,
and
Can you bring the mic to you and state your name and address, please?
that better? Jim Krieger, P.O. Box 281, Lambertville. I got two questions and a comment. No big deal, but whatever, it's my nickel. Who changed the Bedford TV channel to a radio station? That was the first one. And the second one is we've got one ad on that TV radio station, and it's to sell light bulbs. And there are hundreds of people in this town that sell light bulbs. Just wanted to ask that question, why? And lastly, my opinion, and I guess we can still do that in our country, I'm a roundabout guy if they're put the right place. I lived all over the country, Texas and Florida and Savannah, and I think roundabouts are good, but I think we need a roundabout at the corner of Jackman and Smith like we need another hole in our head. So I got that off my throat. You know, it's $1 million grant, but somebody is spending somebody's $1 million to put it on a corner we don't need. Even Jerry Edmondson and I have talked years ago about things that we could do to Jackman and Smith to help it without spending $1 million. And we can do it for $100,000 or $2. That's all.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night.
And happy turkey.
Any more comments from the public?
Jeffrey King, 692 Seminole Trail. I would like to start off by saying thank you to all the board members this evening for all of their work. Regardless of a yes or no vote, I am still in a position with the township, and I'm going to serve the township to the best of my ability and my capacity. I appreciate the issue raised about process and procedure, because I also believe that we should follow process and procedure. In this instance, I don't know what else to say to that, but it did work out in my favor. Hooray for me. Let's keep going. Also speaking to adding to potentially the maintenance department, I think it would be a very good benefit to the township and to all of the properties and different amenities that we own to have a fully staffed system. We have better equipment now through some improvements, and having people to operate that better equipment and to use it to its full potential, I think would behoove the entire township. I would also like to thank the members of the public who have raised issue and comments, in that they are not just going to take questions, answers, and let them go the way that they think, that we have people who are willing to investigate in the same way that the board members do when something comes up that we're curious as to what's going on. We do our due diligence, we look things up, we find out things that we need to, we can address them, we can talk about them, and at the end of the day, we can come up with our own individual opinions and then still work together as a collective group or whole in order to accomplish the tasks that are ahead of us, regardless of whether or not they go the way we want. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night, buddy. Okay. Any more comments? Seeing none? Okay. Comments from township board members? Mr. Montre?
Yeah. I think it was about this time last year when in my comment I announced that the Supreme Court had ruled our governor's edicts as clearly and blatantly unconstitutional, and I thought it would be appropriate tonight to encourage everyone to read the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals official and unanimous ruling blocking Biden's attempted vaccine mandate through OSHA. It is very well written, and it is worth reading. My other thing would be to congratulate the Temperance Animal Hospital for finally making their opening next week. Congratulate and thank them because it looks beautiful. And I know I, for one, and I think I can speak for this whole board, to say that we're grateful for their investment in our community.
Mr. Steiner.
I'll reiterate, too, with Temperance Animal Hospital, they were before planning department for some final issues to clean up. And again, great addition to the community. They've been around a lot of years. So kudos to them and congratulations on their grand opening coming up. Also, I would like to say to Mr. King, I appreciate your comments, sir. Congratulations, you've got a full-time position. I'm glad you understood my reasoning behind it, that I thought a process was not followed. And again, I appreciate your comments every bit as much. But that's what it's all about, trying to do the investigation and get to the bottom line of where we need to be. So thank you, sir. And to everyone have a safe and happy Thanksgiving, and don't eat too much, because I know I will. That's all.
Okay, Mr. Bruning.
Nothing additional to add to what has already been said, except for this weekend, go blue.
Okay, Ms. Janizek.
I would like to also say congratulations to Jeff for getting the full-time position. Wish everybody a safe and happy Thanksgiving. And tax bills will be mailed out at the end of the month.
Ms. Hirschberger.
I want to say congratulations to Jeff also. I'm hoping that in the future we'll have our 4 full-time again, so I'm still going to push for that. It was hard on our maintenance guys this week. I know the lights are going to be postponed and people are going to be upset about that, but 3 funerals is really hard on our guys, especially when there's stones to move and the weather's getting colder and it's different cemeteries. So please be patient with them. The Township Hall will be closed on Thursday and Friday, November 25th and 26th for the Thanksgiving holiday. I hope everyone has a really nice holiday. And then I wanted to address a couple things, a couple questions, if the board is okay with that. Would the board be okay with me putting the policy on our website?
I would think you should.
So that's how you'll see the tweak. When
Okay
it's
with-
done, we'll put the whole thing on the township website. As far as the TV station, radio station, I have no idea what you're talking about. I think you're seeing a different channel. That's not ours. Ours, yes, it does play music through Buckeye, but it has all of our meeting dates on it. It has a scroll sometimes if there's some kind of an emergency. We don't put ads on there. We're not allowed to by law to advertise for anything. So I'm not sure what station you're looking at, but it's not the Bedford channel. So I just wanted to clarify that. So that's
Maybe
all
it's
I have.
Bedford, Michigan up north, Jim. You could be watching the wrong township. Trudy, was policy not followed with hiring Jeff? To your knowledge?
Was policy
Was
not-
policy not followed hiring Mr. King?
Well, we hired him as a seasonal, and then we moved him up to a part-time, and then we moved him up to full-time. I would have to look at the policy to see exactly if progression is not part of our policy. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head.
'Cause I'm pretty sure that we're okay doing what we did the way we did it, but it's okay. I mean,
answer Gail's question?
Hmm?
Do you want me to
Oh,
answer
go ahead.
Gail's? All right, Gail, I can answer your question for the park board meetings.
Got to turn your mic on.
For the park board meetings, we hold them at Carr Park the 2nd and 4th Monday of every month.
Can I make a suggestion, though? You guys really should hold them here. You should, I mean, that way they're at the township board. We know when they're at. We know where they are. There's plenty of room. And then, they can get taped. the public can see them, but you should really suggest them bring them back here.
We have suggested it. I don't get a vote at those meetings. Their reasoning for holding them at Car Park is the park board. They try and do Car Park, Samaria Park.
I think the point of that was in the summer, that way they could walk the park and get, but now but.
I'll let them know.
Either way.
Thanks, Todd.
Again.
Okay. I do want to mention that with the Downtown Development Authority, we are going to be putting up a tree in remembrance of Lane Fraley. He was a long-time board member and contributed to the community from the Downtown Development Authority. He owner of Subway, passed. He would be greatly missed. He served this community well for a long time. My condolences are with their family. And exciting news is Burger King had their re-grand opening Saturday. Mr. Steiner and I were there Saturday, and they stuck $1 million into that addition that they did, or reconstruction job that they did. And I explained to the owners, because they really didn't know, that the Downtown Development Authority has a tax capture. So when they do that construction project, that's when money's captured. So they really contributed a lot more funds to the DDA. So it was exciting. It was a good time, and we appreciate them doing what they did in Bedford Township. We do have openings on the Housing Commission for Ivory Lindsay. If you're interested, please apply. We do have 2 openings currently for the Downtown Development Authority. If you live within the DDA or own a business or work at a business there, please apply. I do want to mention and thank the Bedford Business Association for their $1,000 donation to the Township Police Memorial. Troy Goodenough, Sheriff Goodenough, and myself accepted that check on behalf of the township. We turned it in a few days ago. So we're raising money for that. We're going to hopefully have a really cool memorial, hopefully this year, that we can be proud of. Our goal is to raise roughly $20,000. So if you're interested in it, please give me a call. I do want to mention my flyer. Blizzard Fest is going to be just a one-day event this year. It'll be December 11th from 3 to 9, just one day. There'll be tons of things to do for the community. Everything is free for the whole community. That's one goal that we've always had for the Blizzard Fest, is you're not allowed to sell anything. Everything's free. So food, snacks, and drinks, and there'll be carnival rides, horse carriage rides. I believe the Jacob Supplies monster truck will be there for kids to look at, and just a lot of fun stuff. Ice skating will be there for the kids, so come on out and have a good time. And these festivals are huge for our community. It brings people into our community. It gives our people in our community something to do within our community. We have to have things to do within our community. We don't always want to be leaving to go, everywhere else to do fun things. We got to do things like this as a community. So I'd encourage anybody that sits on a board to get creative and, do these things. I've always encouraged the park board to make the fireworks more of a festival day. Not for capturing money, but just to capture more fun things for the community to do. And with snow plowing, we're going to be continuing the same process as we have in past. I know some people raised a little bit of question to why we picked 5 inches. Frankly, when you have 5 inches, it's kind of the threshold of when you drive over it, it doesn't create an ice rink, really. And you get up into 6, 7, 8, 9 inches if it's driven on, for 8, 10 hours. And the temperature is right, it could be an ice skating rink on subdivision roads for a month. School can be canceled over it. So we'll be having our seasonal people come back for that, for those events, and our full-time guys will be helping out with that. So look forward to that. We'll be partnering with Stoneco again this year. They do the Lambertville side. It splits down Jackman Road, and the township employees do the Temperance side. So it's an exciting program that we do, and I look forward to continuing it. Other than that, any more comments or questions from board members? So I look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, we're adjourned.